It's now been almost 20 years since I realized my number one item on my bucket list. It was to preach at Nebo Chapel on the hills outside of Mount Jewett, Pennsylvania, at the annual Swedish festival. Nebo was one of the earliest Lutheran churches in that area, home to many of the Swedes, and I perceived it as a great honor to finally be asked to lead that worship. I made the determination not to use my fancy titles in my introduction of myself, but rather I simply said, my grandfather grew up down the road in Claremont, to which there was an audible gasp. I learned since that growing up in Claremont gave oneself instant street cred. It was not an easy place to survive. You had to be tough. And by virtue of my grandfather growing up there, I was perceived as one of those tough Swedes. I talked about my dad and his siblings being baptized and confirmed in the church, how they traveled back and forth from Salamanca, New York for confirmation class on the train alone. I talked about my crazy Uncle Art that was rather notorious in Mount Jewett. At the end of the service, people filed by and greeted me warmly, and then this older gentleman, I would say probably easily in his early 90s, stood in front of me, rather close for a Swede. He looked at me with those steel blue eyes that see right through you. He pointed his finger into my face and he simply said, I know you. Now, despite the fact that I knew that he really didn't know anything about me, especially all those secrets that I was terrified anybody finding out about, there was something terrifying in that greeting. I know you. As much as we desire to be known, it's scary. It's frightening to think that people might find out who we really are underneath that well cultivated exterior that we have prepared over the decades for others to see. I know you. That's what the encounter with Jesus and the woman at the well is all about. He knows who she is, and she doesn't have a clue who he is. They have an interesting exchange about water and living water and the fact that Jesus doesn't have a bucket, so how is he going to give this woman living water? It's another one of those funny John stories. But then Jesus goes on to reveal to this woman that he does indeed know her. He traces her past relationships and her present one. That had to be a terrifying moment for that woman. To be known. To know something is to have power over them. And that's just plain scary. Unless one is the one wielding the power. We're living in scary times. The events of the weekend have shaken many of us to the core. And I don't know about you, but for the past few months, I've been having some interesting conversations with God. What is God up to? I mean, I wish I knew what God was about. All this stuff in the world. Can't you stop it, God? Won't you stop it? Frankly, there are mornings where I'm not sure I know that God, who for my entire lifetime I have come to worship, love, adore, and proclaim. God, who are you? As I pondered that question for these many weeks, I keep coming up with the same answer. We do know God because God has revealed themselves to us in the form of Jesus. And we see that God most clearly, of all places, on a cross, where God makes real the promise that he loves us so much, they are willing to die for us. What greater love is there? That is the God who comes to us this day and every day. This is the God who knows us intimately, knows our every fault, our deepest, darkest secrets that no one on the face of this earth knows. Those crazy, insane thoughts that we have, those words muttered in the depths of our hearts. God knows us and loves us still. That's who God is. I know you, God. And I know you know me. And as crazy as that sounds, I thank you.